Meet Felix at about the time I met him in 2001. He was a regular at the Berlin Kinderfilm Fest. Now, 10 years later, I wanted to know how all the foreign stories might have influenced his life so far. First, I had to find him.
From my childhood is Alice in Wonderland of Walt Disney.
Die schöne Vasilissa, ein russischer Märchenfilm.
Lassie in German.
Emo.
Kiriko.
To study in Japan for a year in Kyoto. And when the group of students were introducing themselves and talking about why they were there, and I just said that I was inspired by a childhood movie, so I made that reference to Fatty and Skinny, which I thought I remembered as Skinny and Fatty, so
Well, Ma, try it.
But I could never climb that pole.
Oh, now you shouldn't give up before you try. Komatsu, show 'em how.
Okay. Go on, try. Why don't you try? I can't do it. Come on! Do it. Once more. There you go. That's fine. Well, you're doing fine. Use your legs. Try again. Grip it tight. Don't let go. Oh, no.
If you went fast forward about 6 or 7 years when I was working at the embassy in Tokyo and living in Japan, the inscrutable East never felt that inscrutable, partially because that movie was at kind of at a peer level. They were roughly my age. They were doing the storyline was about things I could relate to, about being.
Deine erste Mal auf dem Berlinale? Deine erste Mal mit einem Film mit einer anderen Sprache vielleicht?
Für wen ist das erste Mal, dass Sie in einem internationalen Film sind?
Ah, super.
For young children, it's quite possible that an international film, something that gives you a different perspective, for all the principles we know about memory, would be more memorable. It would be distinctive. Rather than the commercial, we tend to have, I think, the commercial movies tend to have a certain rhythm to them in the United States. They tend to have a certain plot line that kind of know where the laughs are supposed to occur. And there's a scriptedness to them that I think that doesn't make them as distinctive as they could be. So it would be interesting, I think, in the US to see reactions and responses to international films.
I was very young, maybe 7, I don't know. It was in Africa. And at night there was a party with grown-ups and children, and they showed a film. And then something happening on the wall, and what was happening were real toys, like mine, real toys. And it was called the Revolt of the Toys, the Revolt of Toys. And so they were real toys, and you could see the wooden plane with the propellers, and then the plane would roll and fly off. And they were real toys, and the soldiers would start marching, and they would start blowing horns, but you could see it was all made of wood. And they were fighting against somebody bad. He had dark boots, and he was real. And that's unforgettable. This is the miracle of cinema. I was being touched by a film, a little film, honestly made by a lady who struggled in Czechoslovakia to do her own films. She was called Ermina Tirlova, and I'm sorry she did not know she touched me.
When we were watching the movie, at first I only just kind of knew what they were talking about, since they were talking Dutch, then German on top of that, and then the English subtitles. But eventually you got used to it and you could understand really well, as if it were only one language.
And I think that the more language you have in your ears, the better, and I think that young people really respond to that.
The film is not only the educational tool, of course, it's piece of art, and art it's more than education. Any kind of gift from the film when you leave the cinema. It's for sure, but sometimes it needs the years to, let's say, to take this gift from the box, you know, to take it out from the box and to use it in a way.
When a child or a young person sees a film from another country, then if they're lucky, it's a window into that culture. They might see their peers, same age, dealing with completely different situations in other countries. They will, for sure. Or they might see their peers in completely other countries and cultures dealing with similar situations. That is open, but it opens the view. It makes more tolerant, I think. It helps young people understand themselves, their own culture more, when they reflect what's going on outside of their own culture.
Even they see a movie which tells us about war or difficulties in families also. I think this is important also that filmmakers should think about it. But when you select a film as a festival director for a young audience, you have to care and you have to see, so where is the message about the hope in the end? Is there? And I'm not talking about happy end, I'm talking about hope. So
children are, it's beautiful say by Janusz Korczak. He said children are not stupid, they are just not experienced. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, they are not experienced, so they need some explanation.
And it is different to care of this audience. It's harder to find films for them, and it's harder. I mean, you have a bigger responsibility, I guess. You don't want to shock children. You want to give them the first experience they have in films and movies, the best one they could have. It's sometimes media education you're doing. I mean, you introduce them to different worlds, different situations of other children, and so I think there is a bigger responsibility you have as a festival director for a young audience.
Yeah, it was totally different from American movies or German movies, and it was, because at the end, it was about friendship, I think, and one of the kids showed the other one how to swim, and he said, if you can reach that island, you have made it, or something. And then the other child starts swimming off to that island and drowns. And what I remember, what was really amazing about that was that at the end, the father of the drowned child came back to that his dead child's friend, and instead what I think Westerners would have done and telling them, how could you do that? How could you let my child die? And how could you tell him something so stupid? And what he said was, you were a good friend, and you gave him the ability to long for something and to do something. And it turned out bad in the end, but it was a good thing to do. And that was really amazing, because that's not how it would be in a Western.
How do you think maybe these films influenced your life?
And it gives you a feeling that the way you live isn't the only way possible, and that there are other ways to think about life, and even to make movies. And
in general, I think that international films will have an impact on the way children look at the world. Watching films like that, watching international films as the ones we are talking about, as they are shown at the Kinderfilmfest, I think definitely contributes to this kind of perspective, this kind of openness